Hello, I'm Jayantu Chatterjee from IIT Kanpur. We are discussing management of field sales. This is our third week and we are focusing today on a topic that I mentioned in the closing part of the last session, which is called spin selling. It is actually a very effective way of using the question-based selling, which is a foundation approach for consultative selling that we have been discussing in this course right from the beginning. The approach is a 6-step, it's part of the 6-step presentation plan that I offered to you in the last session. So as you remember, we had approach, need discovery, presentation, negotiation, close, and servicing the sale. I discussed in detail about the presentation part in the last session, but I'm today going back to the need discovery, because if you remember, the two more complex types of sales presentation, which is need satisfaction and problem solution, those need a good understanding of the customer's need. So most of the high value sales, complex product or system sales, demand that you have deep understanding of the customer's needs, because that is the only way you can structure your fab. That means you can create your presentation on advantages and benefits through the features of your goods and services if you understand customers' needs very well. So how do you discover customer needs? That's the point of today's discussion. The consultative sales process that we are highlighting in this whole course obviously is very important because it increases customer satisfaction, more sales are closed, and it is generally found to be more in tune with the 21st century, where the customers have more power and the information asymmetry is now in favor of the customer. The customer has a lot more information about your products, your customers' products, about the situation, about the industry than you have to start with. So therefore, the need discovery has to be a humble process. It has to start with the assumption that the customer knows more and the customer is the king or the queen. And depending on the sophistication of the product, the selling price, that means higher price needs higher investment in need finding, customer knowledge, product application, time available, all of these are inputs to determine that how much time you spend on the initial part of the sales process. So higher the sophistication, higher the selling price, more is the requirement of customer knowledge, more complex are the application situations of the product. You need to spend more time on the inquiry part, on the questioning part, on the need finding part. And this discussion is about dimensions of need discovery. So as you see on the left hand side, it shows the general flow. Need discovery, ask appropriate questions, listen and acknowledge customer responses, and establish buying motive. And this is, by the way, taken from Manning and the chapter on this need finding. And please do refer to the whole the book for a more detailed understanding beyond what we are going to discuss in today's session. So need discovery leads to the selection of the solution, which leads to the need satisfaction presentation. So therefore, the need discovery is the fundamental starting point for the need satisfaction type of sales presentation to succeed. So now we come to what is known as spin selling, which says that there are 4 types of questions which a salesperson should use effectively in making a good sales process. So there are, the S stands for situation, so there are situation questions. P stands for problem, so there are problem questions. I stands for implication, so there are implication questions. And lastly, N stands for need payoff, so there are need payoff questions. So questions help to clarify the exact dimension of the whole problem, gives you detailed insight. So question based selling is in a way another name of introducing the need satisfaction or the problem solution type of sales presentation. The types of questions are survey type of questions. These are for discovering basic facts about the buyer's problem and existing situation. Usually it is used at the beginning of the sale, and normally the way you will express is, can you please describe the problems that you experience with respect to the say electrical contactors burning out in your hoist application. I am just giving a real example. This type of general survey or overall fact finding questions should lead to the next level, which is probing question. These are designed to uncover specific pain points, clarify the circumstances and implications surrounding the customer problem, and this is used when you feel the need to obtain more specific information to fully understand. So continuing with our example about this contactors or actuators used in the electrical circuit of a hoist or crane, they normally are prone to continuous servicing because of the type of hoist or crane duty. The contactor starters burn out quite quickly. So they need a replacement on a regular basis. The contacts need to be replaced. Now, in the earlier types of design, often the whole contactor used to burn out. So you needed to replace the whole contactor. Some improvement in designs have come in, and therefore that has actually come because of these understanding through the spin method of finding specific. So the customer's pain point was that replacing a whole contactor was very time consuming. Sometimes the whole starter caught fire. It was therefore a hazardous situation. All of these led to solutions which are now more modular, where a certain defective part or a contact can be quickly taken out and can be replaced. And this modular approach to the problem solving can be applied. Actually, this is a problem relating to an electrical starter in a hoist or crane, but this kind of modular approach can be applied to many other types of problems. So probing stage are often used to address a specific customer specific situation. So like, are the logistics problems, so suppose somebody is organizing a large event, and therefore for that exhibition or for that conference or for that large multi-day seminar, if you talk about logistics problem, it is actually you are probing a very specific area. Then you have the confirmation type of questions, where actually what you have understood through the probing about the specific nature of the problem, you seek confirmation so that you are on the same page with the customer. So it is used throughout the sales process to get this customer's feedback and confirmation that their perceptions match your supposition, your hypothesis. That's why you so you therefore say, okay, this kind of statements. So you think the uncertainty associated with travel is affecting your performance. So this is actually yes, no, no, but. This type of response from the customer will help you further tune your thinking with the customer's perception. And then you say, okay, therefore, if there is your own travel bus and you have a pickup service for your personnel, then perhaps you will solve logistics problem and you will reduce uncertainty. So you see here, we are using this technique to prepare the ground for, say, a industrial transporter, transport equipment, some kind of a van or a traveler type of multi-seat car. So if you again, I will repeat. So you have survey type of questions, you have probing questions, you have confirmation questions, and you have need satisfaction oriented questions. So survey questions reveal customer problems, probing questions reveal customer's pain, confirmation questions reveal mutual understanding, and need satisfaction questions reveal potential pleasure or customer's delight. So ultimately, you want to go to the delight, but to do that, you have to go through the stages, the survey, the probing, the confirmation. That is the way you have to uncover. You can't get to that need satisfaction situation, the delight creator straight away. You have to go through this process to uncover the core of the problem where you can delight the customer. So here, in the initial part, it is better to some prepared questions, some pre-planned questions can be used. Note the customer's response, and then you proceed to the need discovery worksheet. The need discovery worksheet is often actually based on some preliminary understanding of the problem, some preliminary description of the solutions that you can offer, and then it should not be a close-ended presentation, but it should be an open-ended presentation that stimulates more conversation. So don't show that what is the solution that you are offering, but rather look at various kinds of options that you have in your range, in your product range, in your solution techniques, and so that you can get more specific. So use a funnel approach here that start from a very generic survey type of situation, then get to more specifics of the problem. There also stimulate conversation and narrow. So start from this thing and narrow down into very specific 2 or 3 points where the customer will be just delighted with some superior solution that you can offer. So the spin selling, therefore, you use less of the situational type of questions. Try to find those more from your prior research so that you don't spend too much time on S. That shows you are not prepared, that shows you have not studied your customer, but spend more time on the P and the I. That means the core nature of the problem and the implications of your solution. Okay? So, therefore, the narrowing down, the more quickly you can actually progress from the preliminary opening gambits to the more specific discussion, and you can have more time spent at that stage. You will be operating more effectively. So the time spent is during the consultative sales presentation. Somebody who is using the spin technique is shown on this diagram. So you can see here that in the need discovery stage, on the extreme left hand column, the prospect, the buyer, is talking a lot more than the salesperson. The salesperson is only facilitating the conversation, only stimulating the conversation, allowing the customer to talk more and more, getting more and more data, so that your offerings become very targeted, immediately attractive. So the more time you give to the customer to talk and you make careful notes, will create a much better situation in the next stage, which is selection of the product. So here, this is selection of the product or proposing the solution. So here, the more time that you spend will be effectively spent, will not bother the customer but will attract the customer if you have allowed the customer to talk a lot more in the first part. Because you have to cut your coat according to the cloth available as well as according to your buyer's deep and deeper needs, the expressed needs as well as your buyer's latent needs. So when you make your presentation in the second part, it will create lots of interests if your fact finding has been good, if your prior research has been good, if you have spent more times on the S type of questions, not in the, don't waste the time in the encounter with the S type of questions, but even the P type of questions should be limited. So get to the implications, get to the benefits and advantages offered by your solution, and that should all hit the bullseye if you have done your prior research well. Okay? And then of course, you should, in the need satisfaction stage, the more you talk, the more you inquire even after the sale, the more conversations you keep going even after the sale, even though that is not leading to an order booking. And I know it is, for a salesperson, the temptation is very high to focus on the new sale and forget about the sale already made. But that's a very short-term approach that will not work in today's relational selling, consultative type of selling situation. So keep the conversation going even after the sale has happened. Get feedback about how the product or service is actually solving customers' problems. Find the way it is meeting the promise, or if it is not meeting the promise, then where is the gap? The more you spend time on that, your next sales presentation will be much more successful, and you will possibly get a referral which will warm up the process, as we discussed in an earlier, that initial stage opening part of the sales presentation can become better if there is a social context, if there is some kind of a referral at that stage that will make your target much more attainable. And last slide for the day is the value and building the partnering relationship will happen if you actually have a good strategic plan. The things that we have discussed in this week's session, and the actions that you take as in response to that strategy, as an execution of that strategy. So with that, I will end today's session. This was a session on, thank you.